let's go ahead and sort of get started here. You can look, you guys got it in front of you. I'm not gonna read everything. Is there any public comments? I guess I should. No. Otherwise, we're just going to go through all our projects that are listed A through M. We had a few on there too, that's just in case.
Yeah, it's always just in case something pops up that we talk about.
You know, what we're gonna try to achieve here is just is working with staff, working with finance, just to make sure we can get a couple of these projects released. These are all you guys that we've talked about now for a good 3 months. I'm just gonna go through them here and see if there are any questions and anything that we can do to help push it along. The North Industrial Master Plan, as you know, I think we're down to 2 tracts of land is about all we've got left. EDC is getting ready to clear out the houses up there. You know, the one question I had on this, Kathy, I don't know if maybe you could help me on this one is, do you know where we are on the CCN lines? Is there anything going on with that?
The last time that we met with representatives of Pendleton, they wanted to go back and talk about it and then plan a meeting where they were gonna bring in their water expert, and we were gonna bring in our water expert and work it out, but they've not reached back out to us. I did speak with, sorry, I'm blanking out on his name. Remember that on the list for the commissioner. Thank you. Yeah, I did talk to him when he was at the council meeting a couple weeks ago, and he said it's kind of been, he's been focusing on other things.
Right, yeah.
But he did promise that we'll.
Do we need to do anything? Do we need anything to?
I don't, there's nothing that we need right now. We just need to make some decisions and.
Yeah.
So.
That's that dotted line. It runs through the middle. The lower one is the city limit. So we're really getting ready to push on this whole project, you know, so you're gonna see multiple slides on this. The thing I really pick up on this one is that CCN line. The other thing that really, who's gonna handle, annexation? Do we have to do the CC? We can do annexation before CCN, right? Do we need to initiate that? I mean, does the zone need to initiate that probably?
Whoever is the property owner would need to initiate it. There's a
I need a
petition that
proposal
needs-
from you to, they're not gonna do it, I just need it from you, to do it with Adrian. You know, we can take probably almost everything we have got, we should go ahead and initiate it, that is it gets easier after the bulk of these. You can just add on, but, you know, I think we have enough of them now that we could go ahead. You gotta put a plan together, have you ever annexed? Oh, we need to annex, so we move that red line up. We gotta get rid of the dotted line, y'all. That's just a CCN line for y'all that don't know. We've been trying to push that up to 1227. I think my understanding that they're willing to do it. I think we just gotta push on putting something on the calendar and actually get it done. Bob, that's in your court. Just to meet with, you know, if it doesn't get on the calendar, we'll be a year from now, we won't have, right, you know, water rights. So one of the things we're gonna be doing here is we got the land bought, so you've got to annex it. If we annex it after that, we gotta make sure that we have the rights for the water and sewer. And so this is the actual master plan, as you've seen. David, don't use this one anymore, or make sure that the one we use is, sorry, I've looked at this 10 times, right? But we're not gonna do a crisscross like this, so we have an option 2. This was the option 1 that has been on our plan from the beginning because that 425 acres, they had a client. I think that client's gone away and our purchases have made it easier for us to just do the north-south one. So the green line, we're gonna run up Old Howard right where it intersects it. And so we have that. That's one of the things that, we're trying to get some additional money, that- because, Covey has actually done a lot of the work. So if you'll see this, we had additional 150 in our master plan. Again, just would really like to get this done. Don't know, Aaron, if this is you, who's the PM on this?
James Miller.
So that's you, Richard, right? We need to get this done because Covey's been working on it. Again, he's done one design, which was this one, and we're not using that one. So he's done a second design and he's really completely different than this now. He's moved a lot forward on it. And so I'd like to get that contract out so that we can finish it. Adrian's been pushing us a little bit. He's got a couple out of state meetings and he wants to take the full package. And so later on in the slideshow, we talk about the campus, I think, too, and we're trying to add the campus and all the housing, one of the things he's done. So we're really combining a couple of these master plans into a full package that they can use as a marketing package. So again, we just want to push this and we're really just going through this, make sure, Melissa, are we good? Is there anything we need? Has anybody got problems?
I was just gonna ask if James had a proposal. He does. Okay.
Yeah, he's asked for a different exhibit, which we'll get to him today or tomorrow, but yes.
Okay.
If there are any issues from staff or any from the groups here, from finance, you tell us, if not, we need to, a lot of these have been in the 2024 master plan. And it's amazing we're sitting here in March, April, before you know it, it's October of 2025. I mean, if we meet on a monthly basis, the months fly by and we just really don't get them out. So we want to finish this master plan. Old Howard improvements, again, David hasn't worked on it because we haven't gotten this contract out, but we've moved that line over to where it says proposed outer loop. We're gonna come up there. Again, similar to that green line, if you can see it goes through that house. And that's the green line at the bottom of the outer loop. So again, that's where Old Howard is gonna come in. That creates a better lot with this triangle. Again, I think almost everything north of the loop on this, we now have under contract. I think we're sitting where the green line, dotted green line crosses Old Howard up there about in the middle of the screen. Almost everything below that, we've got under contract, we closed or getting ready to close. So that first phase, we're gonna be able to get done. So we want to release David on the design. There are some multiple contracts here, but they're all a single project. He's got different buckets. So one is the master plan so that we can continue to finish the master plan. I think as a group, biggest decision, I don't know if I got a drawing on this. See, that shows the actual Old Howard turning, if you can see it. You guys, I looked at these a lot, so when you're looking at them, if you got a question, but you can see the little teeny green line at the bottom. We're gonna have a stacking lane there, a little larger width. That's the house we're gonna go through. You can see the CCN line again on this, and you can see why when it crosses over back to Old Howard, that's the segment we're gonna do. So we're gonna do from the green line on the bottom to when it turns back into Old Howard. That is the scope of work, right there.
Correct.
And we increased the dollar amounts in that. We had a larger stacking lane there in the middle. In the drainage, you got a lot of water, two different, areas that are draining into the channel down here. And David has already begun to model the drainage over there so that we can, the bottom left corner is where all the water is heading. So he's really gone and modeled all of that over there so that we can be prepared. There's a couple developments that are happening over there with Watley, and he's just asked us if we can look at that drainage to see if there's any way for him to get some additional properties and benefit us. Mainly, we're pushing all that water through there, and all the water we're pushing through it is on his property. And so, if there's a way for us to work with him, not sure we will, but David's at least modeling it to see. If you see the green line at the bottom left, that's really hard. I wish I had a pointer, but you can't use it. But the green vegetation, the bottom Bottom left corner, that's the drainage area. And if you can see the little dotted line next to it, that's his property line. So again, we're just looking at to see if there's any way that the Grisham property to the north can drain. If there's a way for us to have a joint use, not joint use, but a detention and drainage area that can work. All this to say, we want to continue to work on the master plan. It's time for us to release this road, our Old Howard Road. In the Old Howard Road, it's a big drainage piece, so he's looking at that. Again, the total dollars that we had in our financing plan is the 761, 610. What he has handed in, David KPA is the 732.9. We have, as you can see, in 2024, the construction dollars, and it would be great to get this project at least kicked off by October. I'm not sure, if we go another month or two, which is what looks like we'll be by the time we get this out. I'm not sure we can get everything totally completed and it started by then.
So go as fast as we can.
Any thoughts on, that's the actual road portion? Any questions? The wastewater, I look at these, I know where the wastewater is. I don't know if you guys do. The drainage areas to the west of or the east of the tracks. Check this one. LEO 1 and LEO 2, LEO 1. Oh, I do have a pointer. Right now, in the outer loop, as you guys know, if you drive out there, this outer loop is being done from this point all the way through. They really are working pretty hard on this. But if you drive out there, there's LEO 2 that comes up through here and LEO 1 that comes up through here, and with a manhole that will sit on the east side of the tracks or the west, David?
On the east.
So on the east side, so we're bringing it and sitting the manhole right there. What this contract will do is to pick it up and get it underneath the tracks and bring it into the properties that we have. This was an old slide that we used just if we had really a way to buy additional properties, and so I would say that almost everything in one has been bought, and I'd say half of two has been bought. This has been bought, and I believe two others. No big secret. We kept this in quiet there for a while as far as having an executive session, but there's nobody on this map that doesn't know that people are buying and they're out there begging us to now buy. Some are saying no, and others, it's, there ain't anybody on 1, 2, 3, or 4 that hasn't talked. There's a guy that lives, I believe, right here, and he's had actual meetings with everybody out there, and for whatever it's worth. I mean, and so we pretty much, as the EDC has pretty much bought, I would say almost everything in 1 and half of 2. And I believe there's about 2 more tracks in 2, and we'd have it done.
I spoke with Danny Stevenson
Yeah,
or Stevens the other day. He has that property right at the end
number
of it.
2.
He's into Winland.
Yeah, right here. He owns
Yeah.
everything inside here.
Yeah. He said, when is the DVC gonna come and buy my land?
Yeah, EDC's out of money for land. I mean, literally, Gary, Tyler, Bob have been managing that through EDC, and as you know, I think in January we added a little bit of dollars to try to make sure we could complete the one. So I think the important part of this whole process is, you guys, is that we've now got the properties secured. We're pushing and have met with the Pendleton to try to drive the property line up, the CCN up to the 1227 line up here. Most of the properties east of the tracks have a dual CCN, and over here, we're just hoping to possibly get a dual or not. They got water, if they want us to use it. I don't think they're gonna want us to use it. They want to save it for other stuff, and that's my understanding. So what we gotta do is get David, let's push the contract so we can finish the master plan. In that master plan, we might be taking this a little bit further in the meetings to come. The wastewater is $1 million for the actual design work, so we need to get it done in coordination with the road and the master plan, making sure we're good to go. I would tell you that one of the things that we as a group, either EDC or really the planning group, a lot of what we've done recently is we don't plat, we just have these as tracts of land. We don't plat. I think when we take our first phase of this one, the decision we're gonna have, we should plat it. It gets one step closer. When you plat it, we gotta decide, do we wanna plat that first phase as a single tract of land? Or 2 tracts of land, 5 tracts of land, should we go in and design the logistics part? So once we get these contracts out, probably in the next month or 2, as a group, we'll pull together. The master plan that Covey has been working on is close to 6 slides. And I think we all will have to, I think we should bring in Adrian and really decide as a group, do we want to actually design a logistics park, or do we just want to have a single track and wait and see what comes? Logistic parks, if you look around Dallas, you can see it up and down the corridor right now. It's designed where you put 1 million square foot, a couple 500s, a couple 250s, warehouses. And so a logistics park is just where you got a single spot where you're concentrating on bringing warehouses in. And so it might be worthwhile in that first phase to take this area over here and do a concentration on a logistics park. And with the sewer and water and the road, we would still have at least 2 or 3 sizable tracks similar to what we have on 64 Burn track as far as high value corporate. So that's where we're going to be going with this project. Any questions on that?
But going back on Old Howard, come back a couple.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about, but are we gonna leave Old Howard? Or are we?
We're gonna take it out.
So take it,
My opinion, and that's what David, once he can get the contract and he's got the contract, then we can begin to actually talk. He's laid this out. I would think that all the houses are gonna be taken down that are inside there. The drainage is gonna be reestablished. I think you're using that major intersection, that road here for just a inlet for one of the lots. And so more than the road itself, which is this, the width is much different than this. We're gonna get off of this elevated section in the corner, push ourselves over here. That's a real good place to enter the industrial or the logistics park, having a second one rather than just a single. A lot of what, when you're talking to Adrian, you that have been in the EDC meetings, how they're always asking for 2 entry points, and that will give us a second, if not a third entry point onto the loop. And so you'll use it more as just a direct route into the logistic parts where Old Howard will become the major arterial all the way up to 1227. So yes, we'll be removing it. Yes, we'll leave this, but I think everything in here will just take it out.
so then is our contract, is that contract amount, is that enough to take that road out, or is that part of?
It's part of it, yeah.
Part of it?
We went from 4 million to 8 million, almost doubled it, if you'll remember in our last financing plan. So he has updated the OBC to the best of our ability right now. So I think we have enough dollars. One of the things we did too is made that entryway more of a 4 lane to green. It is 4 and
Yeah, it's.
then going back to a
Lower
windlet,
section.
then going back to a
Correct.
windlet section. So
Does staff have those proposals?
Yes.
I think everything that we're talking about today, staff has.
Okay.
We could have gone to the next level, the ones that we'd like to queue up, but if we can't get these off our, let's get these started, and then I would say next month, we'd like to bring about 4 more, at least just get the ones that were in the current financing plan released. So again, I just think this whole project, North Industrial Park, it's a good year and a half out, and if we get 1 or 2 hits on Burn and Site 64, we're gonna need some additional properties. So that, you know, this is water, sewer, drainage, roadway. You know, and we follow right up with this one. We have $75,000, updating it, to a new contract of 65 to begin the process of bringing this in with this is, you know, this is a very large, it's the whole master plan. Again, if you guys want to look at it, I think everybody in here has probably had it. If not, just get David to send it to you. But the master plan, like this is actually showing McLean company's property. This is Drayton's current buildings where he's in the McLean Group. This is McLean Company. In that master plan, we master planned a bunch of properties. Back when Grady was there, Grady, it was 100% in on doing it, and we didn't move fast enough. He retired. Now Tony is there. Tony has a little bit of a different attitude as to what we're gonna do on his property. And so the 65,000 will begin the process of, I don't think we'll change a lot that's been on his, and it is approved, and planning uses it as a little bit of an overlay, but it is not very detailed. And so we didn't do any zoning with it. You're still LI, and they can basically do anything, you know, depending on the amount of, master plan approval you would want to push upon him. I don't know if his vision is the same as ours anymore. And so we have a lot of city property. Let me see, what do you got? Yeah, you don't really have another. There's multiple layouts, and so we're just really want to, the main thing that I would like to get done so that Bob can kick off his the 2040 master plan is to make his base maps, his KPA and Covey's base maps to match. So right now, the maps here, if you'll see, are all current maps. The old campus is a good 10 years old, almost 12 years old. Base maps are old, all kinds of things have been done and the world has changed. And so I got Covey right now working on making the two base maps match the areas, focus on which areas the city owns, drop in all the water and sewer, and then as a group, once he gets his contract, we'll have a meeting also on this to determine is there any changes we want and try to move that corporate campus forward. Important for it to be incorporated into the master plan for the north part. As Adrian goes out, one of the things he's found, and I think you guys that are on EDC know this in all the meetings that he has with the clients, the first thing they ask is, do you have places to build houses for these 200 people, 400 people? It's one of the questions. So since we have that really close anyway, to being completed, we just want to update that. So that is an updated number. Any questions on those? That we'd like to combine that and make sure that it becomes almost a single package, two-part single package. Any thoughts? Any questions anywhere? So in other words, just get it out. And
Does staff have proposal for that?
everything that we're going to talk about
Okay.
today,
Sure.
Melissa, we have sent to you. I took nothing on here that hadn't been given to you guys.
We got them last week.
Okay.
But you have, I'm not saying you have for 6 months. I don't need anybody getting mad at me saying it. I'm just saying that everything that we're talking about today and given to you. So we're just wanting to make sure if there's some issue that you would like to see from the project group or the full board, give us a heads up. If not, and to talk about it as a group, because we blow through these as 170 slides, you guys, and you've all gone through this in twice. And I just want to make sure if there's a question from anybody, if you want to talk about it, any more detail. We got this thing has morphed. You talk about morphing. This is, you've seen this. This is Panda, Lorraine Drive, which is blowing through here. Multiple clients, again, when EDC is out showing these properties, the question comes up, how quickly can we get sewer to it? So This red line, we have an easement. This is a trunk line. This trunk line goes down to the Knob Creek lift station. Has capacity. We're sitting really good. The question was, can we get sewer to that yellow square? EDC had a client for the yellow square. We were pretty myopic. We looked at the yellow square, said, yes, we can do it. And it's $900,000, I think is what the number is. Don't hold me to their Pila numbers. What happened is we started to look at the whole area. I had David go back and say, David, here's the little yellow square right here. So we were bringing that sewer to right there and boom, okay, we're really good with the yellow square, right? What we really did is go back and take a look at it and say, you know what, we go a little deeper, deep cut right here. You can see that this is the hill by looking at the topo, right? You're going downhill to the bottom here. This is a creek line. What he did is gone to a deeper cut over here, push this thing further south so that what we can do is reach out further. EDC is trying to make sure that the potential of picking up some of the stuff to the north here to make, just a larger available area. And so we've adjusted it a little bit. The yellow area this is green data right here. There's a lift station that sits there. Lorraine Drive, you guys, if you do it, has been cut in. In our financing plan, we are reimbursing green data for the rough cuts they did. We had to rough cut that. And we had a lot of fill so that we didn't have an exposed water and force main. Anyway, all that's in 05, 2025, not 05, 2025. We're gonna release that road. Plans are in, plans are done, probably close to being signed off. This is one of those things that would just make sense to get done. But we'll probably have to wait till October 1st to release the project because that's where it is in our financing plan. But the sewer is one that we would like to get released. Again, contract for 148, a little different than what we had in the financing plan. Does our financing plan show the 148, 100 or the 65?
Right now it shows 65, but it's
So-
got all three, so 92 and 93 in 2024 as well. I don't know if that was Melissa, if that's gonna require an update or because it's all in the same FY, in the same category, if that's good.
So all three of those numbers are in a single category. They're not broken out.
This one is actually broken out. The one for Old Howard is lumped. Old
Right,
Howard
on the
wastewater.
master plan sheet, it's broken out, but in the financing plan, it's.
So we're gonna need an adjustment on the financing plan to go to the 148 one.
The financing plan has the money. It's just one pot of money. On the master
we
plan.
don't
it's
need
broken out.
anything.
So you could.
We can go.
Right.
And that's handed in, and this is another project, just worth getting done.
It needs it for the expanded scope.
No,
Right, for, yeah.
Again, we've got the expanded scope, got the dollars, it's in financing plan, so, if we get this portion released, and we hopefully can get that sewer line put in there this year.
We'd have to increase it for construction, but not design.
Should we get that done right now, or should we wait?
We'll need-
We're gonna go on this really fast, so let us get that on paper and then do that OPC based on the actual survey design, plan profile, everything. Right now, we're at a very high level.
Okay.
So I'd rather get to that point before you do all that work.
Okay.
And we'll move quickly on this. We understand this one's fine.
So we had, just for dwelling on it, 650 is what we had in the current financing plan, and it looks more like by the time you get done, you're gonna need 1.6.
Yes.
Yeah. And so Tyler, it's just one of those things that is worth looking at to see if we got the 1.6, but we're not gonna put that in there because it could be 1.9 or it could be 1.3, so it's still one of those numbers that working with Melissa and Tracy to see if are we gonna be able to, in 2024, if it's completed, push ourselves to 1.6? And that's what this is, right? What's the difference between these two? Nothing. It's got an additional, it's funny how you can look at these things.
I
up
think,
under-
this is what I think happened, because I was confused too. I think,
Let me look
last
at these
week,
things. See,
last
you
week
said that.
at the meeting, you had
Yeah.
the first line, what it was, and then what it was going to be.
Yeah,
And then I think you combined what it was going to be into that slide. So I think the next slide could probably
That should be in there.
Yeah, I looked at this thing 3 different times,
Yeah.
4 times. It's amazing that you just don't pick up on it. I think you read this and you understand what it is and then you skip over it. So apologize.
I think you were trying to merge it in.
20 times.
Yeah. But it's just an additional
That's I
slide.
think that's the revised.
That's
I think
that's
that was
the better
last
slide.
board meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was for us to understand what we had. This is what we're gonna be asking for. And I probably didn't do a very good job explaining that, but. This is for this next upcoming, meeting, we have a change order. To be able to put some rock on this, block. Because it's gonna take a good 3 to 5 years for the greenery to actually hide it, and so you're gonna be seeing that versus the bottom corner. And so the change, order is for 18,332, right? We're gonna be asking for that. They've got a mock-up, you can see it on the backside. Any questions? And really what it is just to put the stone veneer on it. This is one that,
John, what was the date of completion on that? Do you know?
Fall this year. And they're, Anderson's on schedule.
are you still getting a lot of calls on that or not too bad?
It's slowed
It's
down.
quieted down. That's good. We'll try to get another one started for you to keep the phones hot.
When art comes in.
Yeah, wait till the art
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
This is an update. I think as you guys know, we talked quite a bit about the state and what they have got to do here to get where we can complete the design. We had dollars in for right away. That is gonna cost, $172,500 for the environmental investigation. So as you know, we've talked quite a bit about the zones. Part of this has been right away and, design just right away.
Right away, for this one, it was right away in design. This was part of phase 6.
Let me make sure I'm understanding this just so I know. On this particular leg, it's just right away. Or are we designed to?
Your design too on this.
Okay, so on both, this one and the one before, we were right away and design, or was this one just right away?
Well, it's a little
Yeah,
convoluted
convoluted.
because originally it was phase 4, 5, and 6.
They broke
And
it
then
off.
when we got, some federal money, it turned into West 1 and 2. So part of 5 went into 4 and went into 6, became 1 and 2. So basically, Harbor to Riverside became 1.
It's
Riverside to 35 became 2. We were trying to clear all of this at one time with the feds. And we ended up with some problems on the section from Riverside to 35 because it's not, it's not in a already disturbed right of way, which the first part is. Y'all probably heard me talk about the toad ramps that came in with that. And so we were able to go ahead and do phase 1 to Riverside because all that right of way is disturbed today. We initially had the
And
green,
Riverside somewhere right in here, right?
just right.
So that section that they're doing right now up into here, which
Correct.
also gets you to Poison Oak,
Right,
which
just
is important.
yeah, just to the south of, just south of Poison Oak. The reason we had the green line cleared, it came back that now we have to go clear the aqua, the green, and the red for detailed environmental, threatened and endangered species, wetlands, just a laundry list of things. And so in order for us to establish that connection and get all the boxes checked for the grant funding, we've got to go clear all 3 alignments,
And that's all federal.
all federal.
How much federal grant money comes with that?
Well, the whole project, the whole construction project, right?
No, I think it
No.
ended up being like 13 million.
Even phase 1, it was 7, I think 7, 8 on that one. It was 27.
Yeah, then we
Right.
got 5, yeah.
It's
It was-
it's not the full, you don't get full.
I don't even think
reimbursement.
it's half,
Say, what, maybe half the project cost?
maybe.
Maybe.
I
Oh,
don't think.
no, on this one, it's not gonna be, because we've got some, well, we don't know anymore. I mean, so the original design, we had a large bridge section that flew Charter Oak and.
Yeah. I guess where I'm going with that, there's a point
Is there
where.
worth-
Yeah,
He's talking about the one that's already-
For the zone surplus, what we had told them, the city, we would be designing right away. So
Yeah.
our commitment, as a zone is to get that done, which is why we're bringing this, because we're still
Mhm.
paying for designing right away. And so we're still pushing this through. The decision as to how they fund it after that is a city decision. Do they, they could come to us and say, let's just go do this ourselves and walk away, but that's not our decision. That is a council and
Yeah.
a city's.
And the grant money I'm talking about is a piece that's already under construction.
That's the only piece. Oh, because we broke it off. Then it was David's story, right?
Yes.
There is no funding for this one for the state.
question is, that's the whole reason we're going through this exercise. Yeah,
Just the way construction costs are escalating and all that, I mean,
Lost.
is there a point where you say, forget the federal money, you guys, more expensive?
One of the things that I.
the free money's never free.
Yeah,
No.
even we've said that. And from our standpoint,
Yeah, it's not free.
for me, it's, our commitment is right away in design, so.
Totally agree, I mean,
That's a whole different pay scale, like those guys, the council bring, David, they can make the decisions they want, we're continuing, so it was brought to us as, hey, we now have to do this $172,000, additional environmental, and I believe in our commitment to the city to do right away in design that we should pick this 172 up. It's still within our numbers. We're not really adjusting any other dollars. You've got 189 this is in the master plan right now. So we still have the dollars. We committed to that. We still have right away dollars. If you'll remember, we sort of pushed this back. David has said what it's gonna take him to get this 172 done will be most of 20. I mean, if you guys are working with the feds right now, and getting something done, in the next 7 years will be exciting, so.
It's 6 miles of, because all
Yeah.
three, it's 6 miles of clearing. You
Yeah,
have to clear 6 miles of lines.
the point to that is that's why we've also taken this 1.685. I mean, we're not telling the city we're not gonna continue to buy the right of way. You cannot buy right of way right now because you can't get it cleared till you go buy it. And so we got 1.6 for you.
Yeah,
I just don't think we're using it in 2024.
So then can we, because we need another million, can we scoot some of that to 25?
I thought we had, is it still in 2024? I thought we, so
Yes,
we,
it's been
yeah.
before.
But can we scoot it to 2025 and pick up the million that we need for the additional, for the wastewater?
It's in my opinion that there's no chance in this living earth that we will be buying right away in 2024. I bet you we're not buying it in 2025. Getting this stuff through the Fed, I mean, we're getting David the additional dollars, but what would you say? I mean, you're 6 months. Just to give it-
We're 2 years.
Yeah,
We probably have to get 500 rights of entry just to go walk this boots on the ground and start clearing.
One of our points has been mentioned many times is too, trying to be the point where we can coordinate with TxDOT to design the intersection. Right here, too, right, like we did on the
Yeah.
north side.
We've sent TxDOT our plans for
For all
the middle one. No,
No.
we haven't done all three.
Yeah. So at what point does that become problematic? At what point does TxDOT say, guys, you gotta make a decision?
all of those are in TxDOT's world. So as you know, the 3514 project continues to get additional funding from all kinds of sources. It is
Yeah.
released on a Fed level. I-14 is released all the way to the coast. They've funded it in the last infrastructure, but bottom line is it's TxDOT, so yeah, they've got
Yeah.
money.
Right.
You'll see that happen sometime in the next 6 years. For us, what we want to do is to make sure that the city and staff understand, we're not backing away from our 1.658, we got it. The reality of the fact is from David is saying, you guys, we're 2 years out. for us to try to get it cleared, and then you're gonna start buying right away. So for Tyler, you know, we're telling staff, you guys, we still got that dollar, it's just no way how you're gonna use it. So we don't need too many dollars sitting in a lockbox that is not gonna be used, let's push it out into 26. And that's October of 25, right? And you're comfortable absolutely with that, as long as city staff is.
18 months from now.
Yeah, is,
Yes, question, right of entry, said you need 5 points.
That's.
Three, whatever the number is.
fine.
Where is that funding, Kathy, to have money to go get that? I mean, we haven't even, so, you know, that our next, once this gets approved, I'm gonna have to create what the city calls a smart sheet and exhibits for our clearance area for all 3 alignments. And hand that off. I mean, it's gonna just be a ton of right of entry so that we can get, you know, the environment, all different levels of the environmentalist boots on the ground so that they can do what they have to do from a federal level of clearance. $25,000 of right of entry money.
Christina, as far as right of entry dollars, do we need, what would we need for that? A lot?
How many did you say? Like,
So it's every property owner along all 3 routes.
that would be.
And I haven't, it's a
Well, the
bunch.
last one
It's a
that you
ton.
had.
this is a
was like
6-year project
$100,000
for us, it's just like,
I've stated that I'll be retired before we start. this.
Usually they charge about
gotta make sure.
500-ish for right of entry, or right of entry to, so 500. We'll just say 500 for right of entry times 500, so.
Hey, Tracy, you guys break that right away number of 1.6 down to
And time consuming.
1.2 and the remainder for right of entries. So let's change in our financing plan at some particular point, an ROW and ROE, let's take the 1.6, drop down to 1.2, take the 458,000, that'll get us started for the next 18 months for sure. We're gonna be revisiting this thing when none of us are on this board, in my opinion. It's when you get a state project. I mean, you think about that outer loop or the regular loop that we got the funding for, like what, pre-COVID? You know.
Nancy, may I ask a question? Listen, we for sure have federal money on this segment. It's coming.
I'm not aware that it's been awarded yet.
So this one we are on the list for K-Tempo, but it's not approved. We're on the project list, but that's my understanding, but not approved.
Right.
So why would we do all this?
You know, the question that I've asked, but
So get it on
again,
the
it's
list.
not our project, we just were gonna, mine is that if you buy all of the right of way and you're done with it and your project's designed and handed to the state, it's a different process than if you're mid project like this. We don't have it designed, we haven't got the right of way bought. Right, so there's other projects, if you buy all the right of way, you have it done and you have it designed, then you go to the state and say, I got a completed project, we got right of way, we're ready to go, you fall into a different kitty. My opinion. You know, everybody's got one of those opinions, but, so the better thing would be is just go finish the project and then go to the state afterwards. They look for, shovel-ready projects.
Could it have
This is-
anything to do with our current federal funding, that they're requiring us to do this based on our current money on the current piece we have funded?
Originally,
grant.
the entire thing was federal funding. But what we need to look at is if we've rescoped and only the piece that we're building right now has funding, then maybe we can do away with some of this.
So we'll throw that in your guys' court to determine your funding.
We'll get an answer on that.
For us, we're still probably split that right away to a 1.2 and a 458,321. That gives us the, a kitty there for any work that Christina and Kathy would have to kick this off in the next 18 months. David still to, you know, we've sort of opened up the door and they, you know, on this federal funding deal, and we're wanting to connect into I-35 and 14. They're still, you know, they're still gonna force it, you know, right, that far.
We don't want to miss that opportunity when we're messing around with 3 different options and they go ahead and design it.
That's what we were able to do up north. We just designed it and handed it in and said, here's our design, and then they built around it. They, I don't know where they are, multiple rumblings out there of dollars that are still being thrown out there for the, the I-14, I-35 project.
Maybe
We'll
can you
have to
give us
see
an
how that
update
goes.
where TxDOT is on this segment? Are they actually doing schematics now on this segment that we're talking about, I-35 between Temple and?
Yeah, I'll get you an update, but they are, because they've been in contact with us to get even our design on, as far as we got on the middle option that you just showed. So they have that
When did
in-house.
that window close and say, we gotta know which option?
Interesting to see what that,
We just got the funding for, they were number 1 and 2 on the list that Jason Deckman just presented to us. It was on I-35 or for I-14, a big segment of it.
I think there's all kinds of funding happening out there too.
It'd be terrible to miss
Next year, and I
the
think
design alignment here.
I was wondering what that email that was being around, what that does. There's, you read there, yeah,
I think it's just
15 million.
15 million for schematic. I think it's for design only.
So not to waste a bunch of our time, still what I think is that we're gonna split that 2024 and we're still gonna spend the 172 because cities asked us and that's our commitment. We have it in the financing. We still got the 172.5, so he can keep doing environmentals.
Maybe can
Yeah,
you bring
somebody-
this back to us by the next project committee?
Yeah.
Maybe even the next full meeting in 2 weeks? Okay, how long will it take you to give us where TxDOT is?
We'll start calling today. I mean, I think that, that should be pretty quick. I mean, I know they're going, I just don't know what they've got in their financing plan as far as, but they've got, I mean, anybody that drives south, you got a problem there. Right? That connection's just horrible. So they're.
But they're gonna add 2 lanes, they're gonna add 2 lanes. And they're gonna have to do the flyover at, the loop. They gotta push it through Fifth Street. And so you can see they've done that design. So for them, if you know what the I-14 project, which is the I-35 I-14 project, it is to pick it up at the east loop and go backwards. So if you think about that, they got a section between I-35 and 31st Street that's completed. 31st Street to the other loop isn't, so you're pushing it past Tractor Supply and all of there. You got to squeeze that in. You got to take our current Veterans Boulevard. We got the frontage roads done right. They gotta drop that elevated section in. You gotta do the flyover at I-35, direct connect into 2 new lanes all the way about. I believe will be really safe, in my opinion, by changing this to 1200 and 248. And that while we're looking at where they are in that again, I won't be on this committee when we finally hook that in. That's my opinion. So I still believe that it'll give us that 1.2 that we might need. Still gives the staff 400, and let's go ahead and fund the 172.5. Definitely have staff decide if they want to keep on moving. I mean, you guys are pretty deep into it. That's staff's decision on how they're going to fund this $45 million project. This is more than our loop to the north.
It is.
You're
yeah.
flying, not only are you flying the rail, again, same thing.
Right,
So,
right, right. Sure.
you get turned, I mean, so, unless this city's just sitting out there with, you guys have this thing funded? You got 50 million in your back pocket on this project?
Not yet.
Yeah, so again, you guys, our commitment as a zone is to help get the thing designed and buying it right away. I think that staff definitely can look at it, but when we get it designed, when we get TxDOT to say, oh, God, yeah, we're gonna bless this thing, then we gotta go find $50 million. And 50 is not what it's gonna cost us to fly that damn road, you guys. You got the same rail, you got the same flyover, you gotta jump a creek, you got a bridge, I mean, oh. That loop to the north, flat ground, all we had is a jump, that's all we had to do. One little creek.
2 bridges, we got one over Pepper Creek.
2 bridges on this one. Site certifications, these are old. How old are our current certifications?
2019.
Yeah, so not that old, pretty old. What happens at some particular point, you guys, 5 years later, a certification, for those who don't know what that means, is that in 16, I guess it was. You know, we found out that a lot of big cities that were doing a lot in economic development were able to certify their sites. And that means that an engineer stamps it and says, hey, we've gone and looked at it, we've done environmentals, we've got water, we've got sewer, we don't have water, we don't have sewer. You're certifying what you have as a site so that you can tell a client that we're certifying that this is what we have. We're currently working a client right now in the EDC that they had another site chosen in another city. And they had picked that city and then they actually got into it and realized, oh, you told us your site was ready, but it is not. And so nationwide, you know, there's been a movement to be able to certify your sites. We actually were way out in front on our certifications. Really, Bob, David and I got together and we had David get every certification out there, state, ours, and any of the best ones. And we designed a certification based on what is being done in the economic world out there that the site selectors can look at. Bottom line is that's just the history so that you know what we're trying to do is we're trying to have David go back and update those. Right now, that because of 5 years, you can give that to somebody else and they say, you know, that's pretty old. And can you?
How can it come out of certification if it's already certified? Things there.
You know, you gotta do go drive by track land, they tell you in 5 years, it comes out of certification because maybe somebody went and put something on the sign. Have we updated? Do we have water and sewer there? Did we add some gas? You know, it's like an appraisal. You go to a bank, ask Gary, I ask him every freaking day. Why do I have to reappraise? Look at this project was just done 3 months ago.
Lester, I wish you hadn't brought that up.
Well,
It's a real-
has to ask questions.
I want you to, no, I'm not backing it. It's not think about it.
What's on the actually occurred on the ground, the water, sewer, gas and all that stuff.
He restamps it. He's gotta go,
So that's fairly inexpensive research.
recertify.
Our new certification.
Generally, unless we want.
We haven't done it. Okay, so this is our first recertification.
Rather than.
Have they added other insects or other animals or?
Yeah.
That's what we're asking.
I got
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's an absolutely a good question. It's a recertification. But you gotta take the stuff in Lorraine Drive, we haven't certified. Right. And you take the stuff we're buying to the north, we haven't certified. So in this process, he's showing, though the blue is what he has remaining, so he can certify those. But the new tracks, as you can see, aren't on there, so he will begin the process of certifying those. In the stuff to the north, how he will certify that, let's just say where our first presentation today on that North Industrial Logistics Park. By the time he does the certifications, we're gonna be able to say that we've got the water design, we got the sewer design, we got a sewer line sitting right here. We've done environmentals on it, all the houses are down, all the septic tanks have been removed, which is what we're doing with EDC. And you will see this change because it will add all the new land that we have bought and recertify the old.
Maybe you said this, but does every parcel of land require the same certification or does it depend on this?
Every tract of land has a different
Okay.
level of certification based on
What it is?
what it has.
It's the
But
same
all of them-
checklist.
Yeah,
that you
Same
use.
checklist, okay.
And so when they're looking at it, they're going up that checklist to say, to what level can we certify this lot? And so you take like right now, the Site 64 and Burn Track, they aren't completely ready.
The highest level of our certification.
You got
New
water,
stuff,
sewer.
just
Yes, they'll get updated. Very helpful. Niagara didn't exist.
East Penn didn't exist. So each one of those certifications that TDC gets, and there are a lot of people here on the TDC board. I think Adrian and staff really likes that because somebody comes in, they can hand them. It's probably an 80-page each lot, each property. It's probably 80 pages of certification documents. But every one of those site selectors is looking for all that information. And they can take that one site and just in one PDF file, send it done.
Otherwise, what they do is they come into your community and they're responsible for trying to certify that site for their client. And so for us, they're like, oh geez, thanks, right? And all they gotta do is a single visit to go look at it. If you take our best sites right now to the north, right? The one thing that has held them up possibly is this this loop connection to I-35. You know, they're looking at how do they get back to the loop, you know, so they're going down Windlet mainly, right? That's your main deal. And so that's how they're getting through. So by having this second level, I would think that we will begin to see even more now that people can say, look at this thing in 18 months, 20 months, that connection is done. I think that'll make a big difference, and that's gonna make a big difference on our certifications up here. What's interesting is, you know, when we were in here, that the loop was important. We finally got the loop done. If you don't know, remember this used to be at grade just a little while ago. The reason we have Site 64, Gary, if you'll remember, I know this is just history, but we took the money, we couldn't get that loop done because they were trying to get over the top of this rail. So what we did is we went to TxDOT, just like we've been talking, and said, hey, if we go ahead and get this rail moved off, that's why they allowed us to take our $5 million that we had in a lockbox, just like that 1.6. And we went and bought the Site 64 and created that rail so that we pushed it all the way to the north, and that's what released that project. And so it's really interesting. We were actively involved in getting this part done, which was important for our part. As soon as we got it done, now we needed a second one. My point to that isn't going to be long, and if you look at what we've got going on, that 1227 is now becoming that next reliever. You know, it really makes a big difference of what happened when that death happened right here, right? It was shut down. So this was completely shut down. So when I was in that corridor, you know, people were trying to figure out how the heck are we going to get back out. And so there are millions of trucks all the way down to Austin. So when you get this second way, what the state will do is they'll be able to shut down, you know, the I-35, shut down this loop, and then use the outer loop when they'll just direct that traffic. They would have directed all that traffic. We'd have never shut down I-35, right? And that's why the state loves when we're doing it ourselves, but when this outer loop from the bottom to the north is completed, and if you had an accident in the center section like that, they would just redirect everybody out onto your loop, put police on every one of the intersections and use it as a new section of I-35.
Tracy, we had money that we had identified to complete out there, pretty close to where John's Arrow just was, out around by the McLean Group headquarters.
Yeah, so
What's the status of that? To fill in the current outer loop, to fill in what I call the interior portion.
Yeah, the main lanes.
Cause you know, remember they did surveying out there, 12, 18 months ago.
It got pushed forward.
We were told there was money out
Didn't
there.
it, David? It got pushed.
Yeah, it got pushed forward. I don't know the dates.
Yeah, it was a long time and now it's a short time.
Yeah.
In TxDOT years,
Yeah.
so, you know, your dog, it just depends, you know, TxDOT years, there's 7 to 8 somewhere per year.
Mhm.
So when they say a year, you got about 8. Seriously, this thing has been, this was announced,
Yeah, I think
this was
Well,
announced
I knew
at
it'd been
Salmon.
identified, and I just didn't know what the status was.
2020 is when it was announced at Salmon. We were
Yeah.
at a project meeting at
Okay.
Salmon's, and
Okay.
Brendan was really excited
Because they've
the
done the
state
survey, and they
said,
did
yeah, we're gonna,
that. So, yeah.
we now have been awarded. But she made an announcement, I believe, probably mid 23 in June, that it got pushed forward. I mean, so they're moving it faster.
Oh, fact.
No, faster,
Bringing it
but
okay.
whatever that means. Again, in TxDOT years, they know, you guys, they know for the exact same reason that we're talking right now, is when I-35 was shut down, they had, you know, it still was hurt because that's where the accident was, so you couldn't get there. So they like these projects. I think that's why they actually have okayed the outer loop funds for the one we talked about earlier, right? Is that anytime that they can have an alternate route off of I-35, they will help fund it because they can use that as an alternate route. So that's that outer loop is going to be coming out of the loop. The next loop, you guys, is 317 up to 1237. Your biggest problem still is the bottleneck it has at Belton. I mean, Belton has tried for the last 20 years to do a two-way through the middle of town. You can't get there. So really what you're gonna have is when our south loop is completed, the one we were just talking about, getting the environmental, you will take that to Poison Oak 317 up 2307, and that'll create a third way traffic pattern to get people through here. It's almost a third relief valve. So you could get to actually 317 without going on this loop or that loop. All right, let's go, keep moving here. So certifications, we want to get that released. What was the dollar amount? Did you not put one in there? Do you have something handed in? No,
No, we don't.
I lied. Not everything on this slide is actually what I sent you. Caught me in a lie. Oh. I hate that.
Give an estimate.
It's
This one we
coming.
were just gonna talk about.
We are just talking about.
It's like the next,
Yeah.
Estimate would be good.
This one's,
This one,
this one is funded. This one is this on our, financing plan?
site certification.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
You had some professional services dollars, that's why I don't, depending on how much it is, it might fit in that bucket, but.
We've been pushing David to get these. Adrian's been pushing us. He's the people that asking you update him. So I think the first step would be to recertify the certifications and then set the process of certifying our new sites. And so David, you gotta push ahead. We're gonna be pushing, trying to get some of these things off our plate. One that is not on here, but is an update, is the master plan for Crossroads. We got, doing some work on Crossroads. Boy, this thing is bouncing all over the place, guys. A lot of what we are doing is also to start to kick off the new 2040 master plan. And so to really kick those off, you're wanting to get base maps, as I call it, all 4 quadrants done. Have an updated North Industrial Park Logistic Park map, have your updated plan for the corporate campus. We've got the master plan that was approved for Crossroads. We're going to update that. We would revisit all the neighborhood plans that Erin and her staff have been doing. That was a part. So you're just taking all of those master plans and being able to just have them so that you can begin to look at them and say, okay, out of all of these projects in the next 10 years, how much do we have? That's what we're gonna be doing here. I think there's a small kickoff meeting.
250,000. Okay, right now, financing plan.
So we have 250,000 in the master, for the master plan, but we have 135,000 to complete the park, the North Industrial Park. You saw that. We have $75,000 to update the corporate campus. So what's really nice is that his 250 in the past, what we'd have to do with that was to go create all those base maps, and you'd get about halfway into the project and go, geez, we don't have enough money because we just trying to build our base. And so since we did such a great job in 2030 and our base maps are there, those updates will get us really a long ways along. Same thing, we had not created in 2030, we had not created a neighborhood map. So we created that neighborhood map in this process. Not only do we have the map and it's really solidified, they've got plans done on each one so that you can pull those plans out and take a look. Are there any of the projects in those plans that are zone specific that need to be attacked or not? And so we're much further ahead. So the money that we have in the 230, the 240 plan, I think is going to be a little bit better for an update. And I believe that's all we had. We're going to try to get those done next month. There's just as many more. And so we'll come back. I think we're going to push through July, August here, trying to consume what we approved in December, January. Update every time we do this is some sort of a financing plan update. As you can see, we spend a little bit more on one side. You really look at projects and say there's no heck we're going to spend that. So you got that 1.6. So for Tyler in the financing group, really he's got 1.2 that I think we can slide at least for 1 year, if not 2. And so we'll be doing that as we move forward. Any questions? You got anything?
No, good job, John.
It's not a question, it's a comment. We had some family in town a couple weeks ago playing soccer, their grandson was playing soccer. And we were commenting on how nice the fields were. They were some of the best that they won. They play in the Boston area and
So to that, I was gonna go into this next meeting for sure. David just didn't get to the funding. Is that field to the north of Crossroads. So between Crossroads and Airport Road, that we remaster planned that. At one point, it was gonna be apartments and all of that kind of stuff. Because of the parking, you'll never get more park land. We redid a master plan and I'm gonna try to get that to everybody. We're gonna look at that master plan, but there are people out in there. Then there's some encampments, as you know, we've been going all over the city of Temple and trying to take out those encampments. I did the one over there by the mall, which is really good. And now they're out.
We're gonna clean up all that.
We're gonna clean that up and get the process. I've driven that lower field, you guys see this. I think we're gonna be able to two-tier that, right? And just have two large rec fields. And so rather than, and what it'll do is it'll take the little kids off of those tournament style soccer fields and put them out on just the rec fields where you put just a bunch of the little goals, and that way you don't have as much of wear and tear on those fields. Also for like when you're playing baseball, what they can do is they can be over there and warming up so that you're not jamming everybody up. So we're gonna, what we've asked David to do, and this will be next month, he will have this forward. How much does it cost to get rid of all the trees? Not all the trees, but all the ugly trees so that you can see all the way to airport. And where we can start mowing it, that's A. B, taking the road from the entryway off of Prairie View and push that road all the way through to airport, giving us a second way. Off of that road, you would go ahead and have an additional parking for the two fields. And so in our plan, we talked about adding that. So it's going to be, how much is it going to cost us to get the fields, all the trees taken care of. And then for him to design that road and two rec fields to see, again, if we can help. I mean, to us, we've sort of adopted pushing that whole project. It's economic development wise, if you ask anybody, the amount of people that come into our community, it's we get as much draw from that than anything. We spend a lot of money in downtown. That can get to where I get in trouble. But we spend a lot of money for our.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, professional fields. We spend a lot of money in. They're just sitting there to where those fields aren't. So we're as excited the first year we're gonna have a festival.
Any news on any kind of,
You would need to clean all that up, get that road, get it prepared for that. We have a site for sale. And, nobody's come and wanted it yet. They've looked at it. You would, when we look at that presentation, I don't know when's the last time you looked at it, but you can take those two rec fields and convert them into 5 more fields. And so it would do
possible building up there, right?
all of that. And for us, we're just gonna try to push it along. That starts the process and getting that road and an additional parking. It's parking, there's, I think Bryn uses it, which is interesting. She's talks about her kids being out there. I mean, you talk about it all the time that, we need additional batting cages. When you're switching the fields over, there isn't enough parking, in that major area. But during tournaments, you got a whole rotation, if not 2 rotations of kids coming in. There's no place for them to
Parking out on the
practice.
Oh, yeah.
It's,
picnicking on
we just gotta push it forward. Once you get to a certain level
Seem
of
like
quality.
trail trailers.
Yeah.
They're down in the tennis area. That's where they've gone. And it's just terrible. You guys seen after the tournaments. I mean, what it's gonna look like after this solar, that's where everybody will be. I mean, it's just gonna be a mess, that's, everybody parties out there. It's so anything we can do to help it is, that's brought in as much people into our community as any. So it is nice to hear that. What else did we hear that you were gonna bring in? Really that whole Crossroads deal. We've talked about that lighting, we keep talking about it and it's on every slideshow. It's worth trying to fund, the first couple sections of that lighting, and you got a lot of people. It's just unbelievable. The amount, I would say I put it almost 250 to 300 people were on those hike and bike trails when the sun came out there. around that park. Everything is interconnected. It's been really good that the staff and the city has allowed us to do some connections with our park fees. So the subdivisions, we're now connecting to the city's facilities and that whole hiking bike trail. Driving around out there, I mean, to me, it was an eye opener because I was, Travis over these years has talked about how important that is, and I thought that was poo-poo stuff, putting that out there. And when you do it, you don't realize incredible amount of use those are. We've begun to connect it to the south, and that's coming soon. Is doing the same thing in South Temple, but is it making a walkable city? We've
Kevin, how many miles of trails do we have?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I believe approximately 21.
Thank you.
That was a pretty short answer.
Well, I could go on and on about the importance of Crossroads and the importance of how the RZ has improved the city of Temple in general. And the comments that I hear all the time is how great this city is when people come in, the number of parks, the number of hike and bike trails, and the connectivity, and Crossroads specifically mentioned. So it's definitely, I'm a fan of everybody has been on this RZ, that's on it and will come. It's very important to the Parks and Recreation Department.
Thanks.
Thank you.
The 2030, we're gonna end on this, that 2030 master plan, I touched on this at our last full board meeting. We really made a mental move to quality of place with zone dollars. And so we took what was historically designated for industrial growth only. I mean, the board, the people we used to have sit around here were very adamant, don't touch our damn dollars. I mean, seriously, it was Gary, many years we fought that. In that 2030 master plan, we made a physical move that says, if we could take zone dollars and take projects off of the city and do these kind of projects, that might enhance our ability to go get industry to come here. And it has. When you talk to Adrian and that, he has said, look at what you guys have done, your focus on creating a downtown, creating a quality of place. And it's really like a lead into that last slide in a meeting we're gonna have, which kicks off this 2040, is now trying to balance that. Our majority of the dollars we spent was that, it was very difficult for us to do a head fake to say, hey, let's go buy $50 million worth of land. And it's what you didn't have. Well, we spent 120 in downtown. Can't we bring go buy some land? And that's not being negative. It's just fact. It's a fact. We needed to buy some land, and we stepped up and bought. We got some good land, and we're going to have to rebalance that master plan as we move forward. How much of the zone increment do you spend on quality of place versus industrial and job growth, and how do you balance that? And
They're both important.
Yeah, that's where we're heading again.
Tracy's got. You wanna go over this?
Yes, I can go over it fairly quickly too. We went through and reviewed all our projects, looked for funding needed and where we had funds available for allocation. And just on the far left, it shows the master plan line item and then the project plan line item. But South Temple Transmission Line C from 31st Street to 5th, the new OPC 6.4 million. Need to add 715,000 to that. We have a taxiway D improvements grant at the airport. TxDOT revised the OPC, which is our match only to that. We need additional 173,830. Upsizing of Pepper Creek trunk sewer along Kegley Road. There's some additional 55,000 for some right of way or rights of entry we need. And then also discuss some professional fees for due diligence on tract of land that the TDC and the city and zone are looking at. So total additional funds needed without talking about the sewer line is very close to 1.2 million, 1,193,830. And these are some funds we had from completed projects or projects we could sweep. Loop 363 transmission main, 168,000, 920, 3 million gallon elevated storage tank for 617,000. We had some leftover grant money in the airport, 55.5. Outer Loop Phase 5 right away and design, there's 73,000. 4th Street parking garage, there was over 400,000 that was a deductive change order. We're recommending to sweep 300,000 now. There's still some few things that need to be done. They are completed. Corporate hangar infrastructure Phase 4, 255,000. And then Avenue C right away, I think there's we can sweep 150,000 of that. So when you do all of that based on close to 1.2 needed, 1.6 swept, we've got a remaining available funds of 427,000. Just some other quick notes, East-West Gateway, remaining project funds after the 18,000 change order, close to 200,000. And the question is that, do we anticipate any other change orders or?
I don't
think you're good on that?
I believe if you leave that 199, we'll be.
Okay, we now have our question answered about the city synergy part.
What was the additional, again, do you remember what was our additional that needed on 93? I mean, on the synergy waistline?
It's
For the
close to
design?
I haven't added it up, but
So
Well, just for the design.
it's well,
Design, we're okay, because we've got
Okay.
whatever.
but
and he wants us to
construction now that
waive
we're gonna cover that entire, expand that basin.
Right, so that one's not, we're not gonna need it for the next,
Correct. For
financing
design, you don't
amendment.
need it. Correct.
Right.
there was a suggestion to fund it now, or just wait.
He said wait, cause we
Okay.
don't know the number.
So we won't do that. There's some AT&T dry utility costs, possible costs. Not sure on that. Avenue C right away, we have 2 parcels remaining to acquire. We're leaving some money there.
Can I ask you, on right of ways, you need some 103, but on your slide before, you took money away?
Yes. So there's 103 left.
Oh, okay.
We swept 150.
So there's two.
But this isn't additional money you need.
No, there's
You're
not
not saying you need 103,
No.
but you gave us 200 back.
No.
They're netting it out.
Left.
Right, gotcha.
And then there's a discussion about Central Adams land clearing, the Lingfield site. There's remaining $301,000 there. No, Buford is looking at some plans of sod and a project there. And just
Buford on the line?
Yes.
Buford.
Yeah.
All the demo done, wasn't there some talk that those, that area behind between the track and the park with the stop was gonna be torn down?
We're using it right now for some storage of some stuff, and it'll be another, I think we'll be lucky to be able to get that stuff out of there even in FY25. So some of that funding may be available. The big problem is the numbers that are coming in, and Chad's right there. He can speak to it. But I think we were at what, 88,000 to because of clean fill for that site. We have to, it's all road based. So we have to put dirt on top in order to grow anything. And that's running high, super high for just the part we've torn down so far.
The point is that of that remaining budget, there was some still left to do additional demos.
yeah, it's
That's right.
the green space improvements, and I can.
You know that, all that dirt they got sitting out there, east west? Where are they moving that to when they're done? Are they using that? I don't think they are. That's all topsoil. Can you find
It
out?
was a filled job. I can check with Emerson, but I would assume
Yeah,
that's
fill job.
stockpile for topsoil.
Are you saying you have some dirt that we could throw on there? Is that what's?
let's talk.
Yeah, we'll
What you're
see
gonna
if we can
have-
find you some
It
dirt.
seems like we
If
would
there-
have sites that have dirt.
There's two major piles of dirt. What they did is they brought that out and they had to cut that back. I mean, you have two major piles. It'd be interesting if they're gonna have to move it off, if we can, find out from Emerson if they
I'll-
can move it down there.
I'll check with
See if we
Ag.
get
He's
you
their
some
project
freer dirt.
Well,
manager.
that 80 or 88,000, the vast majority of it is, and Chad, check me if I'm wrong, but the vast majority of it is the clean dirt to put on top. Is that right, Chad?
That's correct.
All right. So that saves quite a bit.
We can find a project that we're doing to where we're paying somebody to go sell our dirt. We should look at that in the next 6 months.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So that's all we have.
Yeah, the only other one, I think these would all be financing plan amendments we bring for the next board would be the million that we need to find for the what is it, Synergy Park,
The wastewater line.
the wastewater line, and then shifting the 1.6, making that like 200,000 or 400,000, I guess, for the outer loop. And shifting that million to that, moving the million back.
After you've done all of this, what do you think your dry powder is after all of this and just a wing it? Are you still net zero or do we have like 3 or 5?
It's the two, we try to keep it around the 2 million.
Yeah.
We have it, in the next probably week, 2 weeks, we will see it, we'll get what the increment is by taxing entity. And we'll know sometimes we pick up extra on that too.
I think the only other numbers we haven't presented for 2024 would be that doing that stuff out at Crossroads. I mean, then, if there was another parcel of land you wanted to buy or not.
And site certification, depending on how much that is.
Yeah, that won't be, that's not gonna be a big number. I mean, like $1 million or $2 million or $3 million of project. I mean, is there any way to find, I think taking them trees out, clearing is not cheap, and that's why it still sits there, but that's a number worth getting done. When we did it at the airport, it was worthwhile, and you just clean that out. I just think that will really help. And that whole project Crossroads would be one to see, design wise, if you can get that done. And then after that, looking, it's really a land issue, like you were just bringing up. I mean, when you talk to Adrian, everybody there's no land money left. We bought everything we're gonna buy.
You mentioned the Synergy sewer. What year would that need to fall in?
2025.
No, I think we're having to move that up to 2024. And then, but the way I was thinking about it was we've already got 1.6 in 2024 for this outer loop. So we would just reallocate and then push the outer loop back to whatever year that we've got room for it. You just still that one.
One of the things I've told Adrian that it's a little difficult, is if we got a client on that tract of land, our road stops right before it. I've always sort of put that sewer line release with the road release. Just, if we rush right now to put that 1.6 sewer line in, I mean, it needs to be put in, but in real terms, you're putting sewer in so that you can get to a tract of land that you can't get to. And so we do have an ability to push that out a little bit. I mean,
We're putting it in, we're putting it in 24, so it's available, but you can spend it.
I always kept it in 24 because I've done everything I could do to push Lorraine to get started, and we can't do it. I mean, nobody will. I don't have a magic ring it's just ridiculous that we've got set of plans and we're out there and that 5 million's in how many months now? We just gotta wait. So my point to that is that, if we get the design done, we need to get the design done. We need to definitely have the dollars sitting there, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to get that sewer line too far out in front of that road because you can't get to the damn track.
So married up with the road.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
And when, because I think what happens when you're trying to permit a project out there, fire and once, 2 ways in these days there, they fall greened out there quite a bit, getting their CO, without that road, we had to do a chip seal over the top of that, so, Lorraine Drive should get released. I wish we could figure out a way to take a project that we can't start and just, you're talking what, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, however many figures I got out.
I'm clear in the last project that we did, which was airport, it was about 9,500 an acre. Good, good price.
When will you do this? When will you be ready to construct Old Howard? Will it be,
I know that. There's no way we're gonna get that thing started in 2024. I mean, we should meet in April, right? And really look big projects that we can do versus projects we think we're gonna
But
do and
you
just
could-
swap dollars.
You could swap Lorraine to that,
Yeah,
but
cause even for EDC, you got a road sitting out there ready to go. I mean, it's ready to start.
I don't know if just splitting those two still gets us in a couple of years.
It's 5 and 8.
Yeah.
So if you have 8 in 2024 and you still have 3 that you could slide for this year, as long, but I get that whole deal. I'm not gonna go there. I don't do it unless Melissa has her little magic screen up there. I would think, Old Howard, we're not gonna start that. And you just said that. That's what I'm waiting to see.
you have to, I mean, really, you need to break Old Howard into phases if you're gonna start doing that, 'cause otherwise it's 8, because you gotta put the whole thing up.
Well, what you're gonna wanna do, you're gonna go from here to the, you're gonna build that road. You have to build it for the connection even. But the problem is that I don't know if we, to your point, I'm not, we're talking about October. I think we could easily start Old Howard in October. And that would still give us release in Lorraine right now. Is it signed off? What, is Lorraine signed off? Do you know? Do you find out, Richard? I mean, what it's gonna take to get them? They've been hanging there, I'm gonna get myself in trouble, but it's not a priority for your staff, so. If we can find the dollars, you might just find out where it's because they haven't signed off because it's in a queue.
And just
Approved.
as an FYI, so we have 8 months of design time in for Old Howard.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I feel good with that. We may have some right of entries that we gotta,
We should-
but I'm already gonna go ahead and release the drone and get rolling that way.
You don't have to right away. You don't have to
No,
right entry.
I mean,
We don't have
so
to-
I won't even get a notice to proceed until, if it goes to first meeting in April, and then 8 months at the end of the year. So we're already in 25.
You own all the properties. You drove it, but you own all the properties. There's only one that,
I think it's minimal. It's minimal.
I know exactly what
Yeah,
that.
no, I know.
So I think, I would say you're not gonna need any right entries.
Signed off is in release for bid. Talking about getting Lorraine signed off.
Yeah,
Bid.
yeah.
We won't do that though until we have funding queued up.
I know, that's why I was saying, we've got it.
Okay.
The question was that it looks like in April, we could do a single swap and he may even be able to do it by the end of that meeting if we should split flop that. It's that simple of a deal. There's no way he's gonna do it. I think we should get Lorraine, so all I was doing was queuing that up to you guys.
Yeah,
and saying, I asked David if the plans were signed off and I got
Yeah,
an email that
David got a timeline.
we won't do it until it's time to go. So I was just thinking, it's worth queuing that up. I just think that that's, you have a lot of clients out there, right? EDC, I mean, that road being done would make sense. I mean, it's gonna get done. Can we make that as a decision? Should we do that? Do you guys agree? It's Old Howard and
Assuming that Adrian's client
Well, no, he's.
wants Lorraine,
yeah,
just saying.
he doesn't have to take Lorraine.
I mean,
I'm saying you got a set of plans that we're gonna bid in October, and we've got a set of plans we won't be bidding in October, so if we
Yeah,
switch
no,
the
I
two
thought-
around, you still have 3 million in dry powder. That would be interesting to see what Melissa would say that does in 25 and then 26 with your 1.6.
What I would do is just flip them between the years and leave,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to leave the money in 24 outer, so it's available in
I would
25.
do that. I mean, I would absolutely do that from my standpoint. It's not up here for us to look at, but you guys, we have $8 million in old powered construction dollars in 24. We have 5 million round number
Mhm.
in Lorraine Drive for 25. And so we're waiting for October 1st to release Lorraine Drive. There's no way we can build Old Howard. Like he's saying, that's gonna probably be closer to the end of the year. So let's just flip them. That way you can start working towards getting Lorraine Drive, which actually helps us rather than having two projects hit at the exact same time and trying to find bidders. Right now you got bidders out there. It'd be better to have one project sneak out the door and keep going. So I would make a recommendation if everybody, head nods, do that. What would be the problem? There is none.
We'll move it to the top of the list.
We got 2 months to do it, but it'd be, I mean,
If you're gonna, yeah, we're doing.
do it,
plans.
let's do it.
Along those same lines, what's the timeline on updated OPCs, do you think, for the wastewater line piece of it? Is that, will we have all that ahead
Which
of,
piece?
for the wastewater line? You said you wanted to pause on updating financing plan for it until.
Oh, Synergy Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done it. We've done a preliminary, which, but since we're releasing design, I mean, that's based on, we haven't done plan profile. And I think we can, and I've got our group already teed up and ready to go, because at one point that was a really hot, and I guess still is for TDC to be able to serve that for wastewater.
Yeah, and that won't get in the way of the road because, you know,
No.
it's south, so we could still probably release it. It would make more sense if we built the road to then, as soon as he gets the design done. How much did we have in there for that sewer?
I think 650.
So 650 and he's thinking one, so we need an additional one.
And
Yeah,
my thought is if, when we do all this and we have any money, we probably will put it in there in the sewer line.
Yeah.
Construction pot, just to have it, might not be exactly.
And that's
what you
back to
need,
what
but-
Tyler had said is why don't we go ahead and use that 1 million from the
Mhm.
right of way to fund that. At least get you
Get it.
one number and then you can shore it up with the original OPC, I mean, the updated OPC.
If you know you need it, go ahead and put what you can.
well, so I would say, so, you know, go forward, council, first meeting in April, probably in May, we'll have you a number, not that I don't feel good about this number, but it'll be based on more information than we have today. And so in May.
Then you've been in June and it's July and then we're in 27. So you get, it's real though, right? Jeez, it's in here. We're spending dollars in 2024 then. If everybody did a kabuki dance and we pulled something out of a hat, we'd still be doing it in 25.
David, are you talking about converging the two sets of plans?
No, thinks, you talk about the wastewater in that, I don't think so, because, you know, I think we'll have Lorraine, if we're gonna do the swap, I think we'll have Lorraine ready sooner. And they're really two different, we're gonna have some pretty, you know, it's gonna be just wastewater, pretty deep core pit going under. I gotta figure out how to keep Panda happy while I cross Panda Drive, you know, keep them in, which we've talked about, but that's a long answer for, I think we keep separate.
There's nothing on the radar screen that we need to push forward after this, and I don't see any possibly back road for 64. You know, there is a number that I needed from you, which is the gas line. You know, every time we get somebody on 64 burn, they need gas. And, you know, my understanding is there's somebody looking at gas again, but they're gonna pay for just their gas. Let's make sure that we have enough gas for the North Industrial Park. So do we know what it takes to bring gas into the corridor? Let's not have somebody pay for the gas and then all that we have is enough for them. And then we find out the next guy needs it and they say, oh geez, it would have been nice if we made that more bigger and got a bigger line up there. So you find out what it would take to do all of 64, all of Burn and half of North Industrial. Just making this stuff up. Well, you know, you gotta tell the gas company something or they won't give you nothing. So they'll go stick one little pipe in, we're gonna help pay for a gas line for a single client, and then the next guy comes along and he wants it too, and you gotta go all the way back to the beginning. Where is that gas line?
They gotta cross, I-35. They got a piece of I-35 they have to cross. They have to do an update over by Women Road and bring Women Road to the north.
So they can't run it in the outer loop right now to make it cheaper.
Part of it's in the outer loop is good. They have parts that are good, parts that are bad.
So, but the bore,
Yeah, I mean, the bore in 35 is
is
gonna
it
be
between the
next time.
tracks, is it between the railroad tracks
It's
and
on-
I-35?
Yes, it's on the loop, the TxDOT loop 363,
Oh, that's where
going
they're
from, yeah, east side to west.
Can you send that to us?
I need to get it from Atlas.
Yeah, I mean, what that looks like, just to, and just to make sure. I think your client needs gas in some of those. That might be a number we would look at to upgrade. I mean, yeah, let's make sure we got enough gas for client 2 and 3 that we don't know about. Anything else?
David Patrick, do you have a estimate for construction admin for that South Temple transmission line C? I think you may have just been asked for it.
Talked about it yesterday.
Yeah.
See?
On C, the section,
That's, and that's an E, that's us. That-
Yeah, it's at,
Yeah.
the 380.
Yeah, it's in the 6.4.
The construction admin,
Yeah, we're doing it.
okay.
but Dave, you told me you didn't have a contract. Construction admin on that section.
What's in the, I think it's not.
Because it's in an our EDA.
Are we doing it through you guys or? How's that working? 'Cause I don't have the three, I mean,
I don't have the,
I don't have the 380.
It's in there. And I'll get back with
It's in
you.
that number?
Right, Ronnie's been the one who's doing just like on North Key Ridge on an EDA. And so it's in the 6.4.
these guys.
Well, if that's if he's doing it, do you want him doing it?
Inspection.
I'll get back. We have it in there.
We've got it.
It's in there. It's in there. You have about 400 in contingency in that 6.4. Right, and so in real terms, even that could be split into 2. There's one that's the bid for the C,
Mhm.
and then it's trees and dirt work, because we know that you people that the people out there are gonna want tree remediation. You don't do your tree remediation until after it's inspected and you're laying down concrete for that hike and bike trail. And so all of that is in there, and there'll be a change order. And so that 6.4 covers all of that.
And
4.9.
just to clarify the reason we want KPA out there. Not everybody can inspect a 30-inch water main and valve installations.
Yeah. Thanks for that update. Nobody had said that. And so that's an important number. We'll make sure, but we have it. 4.9 is the bid. So it's, you just want to make sure you have your trees and really trying to complete that section. You can't put those trees in there unless you finish up, I think, bike trail, otherwise they're gonna be tore down. So anyway. It's in there.
Gotcha.
Anything else?
I just need that number. I don't have anything. We could sit and talk about all these projects, which is what we usually do. Well, it's stuff, you got everybody here and that's what you do. You try to talk through this. You don't get to do this at a board meeting. You guys, which is trying to, I mean, so even with we're not making decisions. We're just gonna push these towards the board. So I know it's flip flop. I think that was a good decision. We sort of had that hanging out there that would we be able to do Old Howard before, that makes sense to get that released. I don't see any other projects that are, I mean, one of the things is that Backage Road. We brought that, I mean, is that, we know what that is. Have you done enough about Backage Road on 64?
Yes, we have.
And
I know there's-
Adrian has that.
He does, and there's some moving parts on it, what I understand right now. Astro.
Can you send me the cost on that? Just in case they want us to put that in.
Is it the price on what the length that they want or the total length that you have? So what we had done when we were looking at Altitude and Astro was a combo that fit both of their needs and their site layout, which was an extension and then a connection up to the outer loop, along with Niagara's additional to the east of them. Adrian, and I haven't seen it, but apparently Astro has a separate layout and not separate, additional layout and request that he was working with them on. Tyler.
So when you guys are working on all of that, that's always a problem for us in here is that it's usually somebody wakes up about 3/4 way through the project and says, oh yeah, we gotta build that thing. And so for me, I'd like to make sure that the numbers that are being thrown on the table in your guys' meeting somewhat match our ability to look at it so that when they come to us and say, hey, by the way, we need to do this now, we have looked at it and that Backers Road, on site 64 right there between Niagara and East End has been on our radar screen for a long, long time. I'd like to see what it is that they are talking about and that the numbers that are being thrown around actually match everything that we would need so that we can, you would be prepared and that you guys have seen that. It's real important that, it's real important for us to have that help if we need it.
I think we talk about is reimbursing, doing it themselves. I think there's a mechanism to get the money back.
I think when you talk to Adrian here. Right? And I'm not trying to get involved in what you guys are doing, but what I want to make sure is that if it ends up on our lap very quickly, that we have monies to at least get it designed, Cause they came back. Mention that.
I know,
Any questions?
one thing in April, can we talk about Veterans Memorial? And the phasing of that?
Yeah.
We got a timeline with the grant dollars. We want to make sure that we can meet that too.
That is a meeting that we need to have, so that how are you on that? What's that thing drainage?
We did the initial, got the modeling done. We did the initial look at detention to the east.
Mm-hmm.
We have completed the detention modeling to the west or just east of the channel. The channel, the Fifth Street channel that feeds. I've got that ready to show y'all and the differences.
You had to detain, you think?
Yes.
You gotta get the drainage where you can build the road. Get the drainage, and that's still another, he's throwing a couple of options out, all of which, you find a way to do it without taking up those parts?
Yes. But it's gonna involve channel improvements, which will involve the feds.
The man just holds up to us.
That, I mean,
Yeah.
if the feds as in 20, Veterans Boulevard or?
No, I mean, so for Friars
Or-
Creek, we have to do some improvements within Friars Creek, channel improvements
Downstream?
in the stream itself.
Yeah, so we don't have those numbers, right? We have numbers to do a certain amount of drainage, and I think that's, you and I have talked about this almost a year ago, and what's the solution and how much of that solution is all the zone?
We're just concerned about the deadline to obligate the grant funds.
What's the deadline?
You would ask that. It's approaching. And we need to try to get a project underway.
No extension.
Can you,
And we gotta make sure it's part of the project. The drainage, which we can get that done.
another meeting?
Yes.
I was looking at one of the options was a good way for us to to make a positive improvement in the corridor. But it's $15-20 million additional, right? Probably. So we got $6 million to do a $20 million project. Veterans Boulevard's been it's been an elusive little booger, right?
For years.
10 years. I mean, it all goes back down to the fact that everything that got developed along that.
Yeah, Chuck Sewer, I think.
Um,
yeah, that-
How restricted is the grant, what it can be used for?
It has some restrictions. It's not real broad. Put it that way.
You have $6 million additional dollars that we had allocated, left unallocated so that we could start the project from the current, Temple College to probably Avenue Youth. We thought that's about as far as we could get. If you remember, we were gonna go to R. We took the dollars to get the drainage and stopped it at U. And that was 3 million, but then we added 3 to it to give us 6. So for whatever it's worth, you guys, we had 10 million and we stole 3-4 of it, kilo numbers, to try to enhance getting this drainage portion done. And then backfill additional dollars on top of our dollars to release the road. In the road, we actually even shortened it. Before we were trying to go to R, we've gone to U. To your point, if we're gonna get that released, we've gotta come up, David, with a drainage solution for the whole area, which is requiring detention or major improvements to Friars Creek south of the loop. Right? And that's what you're saying, north of the loop. Well, still just between the loop and
Obligated by.
About science.
Yeah, so the apartments in Friars Creek Circle, so if you're gonna release to the north of Friars Creek Circle and the apartments, then
But you gotta
we need some
make-
channel improvements to bring that water surface elevation down to where it'll pass under and not.
So you'd given us that little elevation section, but holding it inside the apartments, and now that's where your problem is staying within their current right away?
Just, well, and having a channel section that will convey that water without the water surface elevation getting to a point that's bad.
Yeah.
And so that's why, again, we looked at that downstream, because I release it all downstream and then I'm good at the loop.
Yeah.
From what we did with TxDOT with the culverts and.
Yeah, we need to push that.
Bob, it's obligated by September 30th, 2025.
What was that
That's
date?
just to be in construction, correct?
Yes, obligated.
What was the date?
September 30th, 2025.
18 months.
And then you got 5 years to spend it, but you gotta have it obligated.
What's obligated, like a contract?
So just a contract with it.
You just have to see what you're gonna present to everybody.
Get on
Oh, he's got it. There was a question. I'd asked a simple question, and how much do you have to detain? And so he gave us that area, and you gotta be careful, because we don't want to go into executive session, but when he showed that to us, oh, here's what you can do, and this would be really great, right? Well, that'd be taking out about $15 million. Maybe $20 million for the apartments. They're like, well, shit, yeah, that's a nice solution, right? That's a good solution. And it was a good solution because, it would be worthwhile if somebody had $20 million. So then we've gone back and said, okay, so what do you do now when you don't buy $20 million for the apartments?
We have lots of projects begging for 20 million.
Yeah, but there is an issue. You got a whole bunch of water in one spot and you gotta push it to the loop, right? And so you got to make it to where, how do you push all this water to the loop? And without taking out $20 million worth of apartments, and it runs right through the middle of 2 sets of apartments that currently show that they are in the floodplain. And when you drive those apartments, they have you know, multiple units not being used because when you get a flood, it goes from the front door and out the back. And so you can go look at them. So they already had that. I don't know. That's a Kathy fund. That's gonna be a fun one, but you know, it's flooding now. I mean, they got it. They're currently flooding. You can prove that they're in a floodplain. Do they want to? That's a,
Yeah, the problem comes in when if today's situation versus you make Veterans Memorial, which is really, I mean, in today's world in the new hydrology, less than a 5-year storm, that's what TxDOT did. And you turn that into a 25-year storm for collection and a 100-year storm for cross conveyance, those numbers go way up. And then you turn that loose. So instead of Veterans Memorial and that system being the holder of the water, you turn it loose to the Friars Creek, then you got to deal with that.
the same thing you've been doing in you know, like Knob Creek out, or not Knob, but yeah, it is Knob. We're almost done, you know, all the way for the outer loop. You know, you push that water finally all the way down to the creek, almost Pepper Creek, but it's, what's the one above that? I mean, the
Hog pen.
hog pen, that's what, the hog pen is almost done too. Hog pen, you got a little piece left, but this whole Friars Creek, I mean, when he's looked at Friars Creek, you know, like where you start looking downstream with the model, I mean, everything's flooding.
Yeah.
And so if we fix one little piece, you're just gonna push it to the next one, which is we have a project that for our part of the project, it becomes a bigger project, and that's why it's been stopped. You know. We don't have not, but it'd be interesting to see what your most recent solution is, and maybe you could set up a meeting to meet with Richard and David and then Bob and I, just take a look at the options to see if we can answer that question. Is it gonna take more money, or do we just take that money and do something else with it? That's what we have done for 15 years. Right, we've had that money for 15 years, and you get to this decision point right now, and it's 20 more million in your, you know, you take that 3 million and do something you can do today, right? I mean, that's really what we've done for the new people. That's project. It's constantly, we hit a wall on that drainage every time.
David, could you have a timetable for the permitting option? It's like,
Yeah, that becomes the other,
you know, if we
Part
till
of that
September
is-
25.
yeah. You know, you feel that-
I'd asked him if we should do, you know, since we have the right of way for the bioscience piece that they had bought, is that we could permit that part and clean that whole deal up, and it might count as, you know, getting that first part cleaned up. You know, you'd be breaking the drainage into two parts. Your first part is the north of the apartments. Is that north? Yeah, north of the apartments, and the second piece south of the apartments, tie 35, which is tie 35, but the loop. Which is why we're wasting your guys' time, but it's, you gotta have these meetings. I mean, otherwise you're going offline, which you get to see how much fun it is trying to figure that one out. He did a really good job doing the design, and I looked at it. I can't say yes or no, but I know that we don't have 20 million, someone doesn't have $20 million to buy those apartments.
You need all the apartments or just that one section?
That's the question. That there's two different sets, and that's why you'd want to
Engineers,
you'd want to go off, you'd want to go into executive session later on to show you one of the ways you can fix it is to, there's good apartments and then maybe not as good apartments, right? And so if you're going to take out apartments, you take out the not so good apartments and make the good apartments look better. So if you know where you're at over there.
We've lost the quorum. Can you cancel just in the meeting? Y'all can
Yeah, we're done.
stay
Yeah, we're done.
until
I'm good.
the meeting's over.